Hello and welcome to a fresh new edition of Bazaar Morning Call. I'm Prashant Nair. With me, my colleagues Sonia and we have Mangalam here in our studios for the next 2.5 hours as well. Guys, hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
I mean, yesterday has been painful, right? I mean, the big headline number, of course, is the 4,600 crore net sell figure from FIIs. That hurts. I mean, that's a very large number. And in the face of it, by the way, I think it would be amiss to miss that DI has bought about, 2,500 crores worth of stock. So there was a little bit of balancing, but the selling figure just overwhelmed people on the other side. We've got some panicky comments coming in from not market participants or a bank CEO or it's from the Bank of England governor. You know, usually when you hear central bank governors say, the comment is that financial stability is topmost priority, etc., etc., etc. The comment from the Bank of England governor is there are serious risks to financial stability in the UK. I mean, that'll, I think, not be taken well. Overall, we'll talk about that. And I think for us here, we are once again in a bit of a wait and watch. This is like what we had last Thursday, or actually even on Friday morning when you had the jobs data later in the US, and which clarified things, but not in a good way. Markets sold off after that. We've got US CPI figures tomorrow. And I think that's the next big one before the November FOMC. So, there's a lot happening, but all of it kind of stops at that US CPI, beyond which we don't know. It depends on the data at this point in time. Guys, hi, morning.
Hi, good morning, Prashant. Good morning, Mangalam. Absolutely. I mean, it is sticky wicket, right, for global markets and for our own. And the Nifty yesterday fell below that crucial 200-day moving average of 16,980. So in that sense, it is psychological levels are being broken on the downside. As we were telling you, large selling by FIs, 4,600 crores, and put together now in the last 3 days, FIs have pulled out over 9,000 crores. So that's the kind of ferocity with which this market is selling off. Yesterday as well, the Nifty fell 300 points from the day's highs. Eventually, by the end of trade, the comment that came in from the UK government that spooked the markets in the last hour itself. We saw, that slide that took place post 3 o'clock itself. For our own markets, though, the US has not looked good, and that perhaps will take the trajectory forward today. The Nasdaq saw its 5th straight day of decline. It was down over 1%. The Fed meeting and the inflation numbers in the US, two key data points that one needs to watch out for. So we're going to chime with the global cues, at least for the next couple of days. The 17,000 level was also breached for the second straight time in the last fortnight. So give and take everything, I think bears sort of have a tighter grip on this market right now.
Look, it would seem that way. But, the question also is, are we getting at a bit of an extreme now? Globally, not here, because here markets are still outperforming despite, what we had yesterday. And that's the point, right? You have generally a sense in a few days of outperformance, and you wonder with amazement. I mean, the US fell 4%, and the next day reaction here was 1/3% cut. But it showed up the next day, which is yesterday. So the global turmoil does seep through once in a while. It doesn't get us even in terms of the damage in the US compared to the damage here, but we fall less. So even as India outperforms, the damage is kind of seeping through. Yesterday, by the way, was a very large volume day. FII sold, as I said, 4,600 crores worth of stock, but broader markets also, if you just observe, the number of stocks going down on very large volumes was actually a pretty long list. Just a little bit in positioning. FIIs are net short 1.2 lakh contracts. At the lows of 15,200 in June, they were net short about 1.4, 1.45 lakh contracts. So this is not very far away. But so NSE discloses four data points in this. The client positioning is actually on the other side. What they described as client, this could be HNI, family offices. I mean, you typically describe this as smart money. Client long positioning is at 1.56 lakh contracts. This is near at an all-time high. So that is interesting. I mean, you got FIs net short, almost at June low levels. I mean, not quite at COVID. COVID was 1.8 lakh contracts short, and client positioning on the other side. So it's like a battle very clearly demarcated between locals and what the foreigners are doing. But the point is, to be fair, this could be hedging, etc. as well against other positions in the cash market. What could reverse this? Is FII short positioning at a bit of an extreme, which means there could be a reversal? I would think so. The only problem is you need a trigger, and the trigger perhaps could come from US markets. NASDAQ, for example, US markets have been falling non-stop, right, for the last many days. NASDAQ set a new 2022 low, and the next support for it is at about 98.38, which is the January 2020 high. And we get the CPI numbers tomorrow, and we get Fed speakers post the CPI numbers. Both are equally important, I mean, over Thursday and Friday, because one, they will be the market interpretation of whether the CPI is good or bad, and then you'll hear directly from Fed speakers who will decide on rates in terms of what they see, whether they need to moderate their, what they need to do in November to 50, they need to do more. So I think both are equally important. The question is, post-Thursday, could we get a bit of a change in the overall market texture in the US? It will entirely depend, like it did in the jobs data case, on the CPI number in the US. But it's possible. You got sort of, the things lining up in terms of positioning, etc., which is getting to a bit of an extreme from a foreigner's perspective. The only risk is a serious global shock to the system, and this is something that we are hearing more and more. People kind of throwing this in, saying this could be a risk. So, for example, I mean, the Bank of England governor saying that there are serious risks to financial stability in the UK. I mean, you don't hear that, generally speaking. What happened is the currency plunged. I mean, sterling, the pound plunged, and money rushed into dollar. Dollar was falling all day last night in the US. But as soon as you had this comment, the pound plunged and money rushed into what is perceived as a safe haven, which is the US dollar. So, these things, no one knows, no one can tell, and we'll be wiser in hindsight. On the Nifty, we are sitting exactly at the 200-day simple moving average, which is at 16,986. And I would say, and I said this yesterday, the September 30th low, which is about 200 points below where we are at 16,747, perhaps is an area to become a little more constructive in terms of taking long positions, etc. Mangalam, what do you have?
Well, a couple of data points, taking off from what you guys were talking about. I was just looking at the dollar index hovering near that 113.5 mark. We have the US yields, which are perilously close to that 4% mark, psychologically important mark. And when this happens, usually there is a fair amount of money taken off the table. And that's exactly what happened. 4,600 crore in the cash market. We know about that big headline number, but they sold lock, stock and barrel. 1,000 crores sold in index futures as well, and 1,600 crores sold in index options. What did they do? In index futures, they, net added 11,000 shorts, and as a result of which their longs are now just 15%. So 8.5 out of 10 FII positions are on the short side. Secondly, add to that, they've sold 95,000 calls. Between 17,000 and 17,200, 1 crore call contracts have been written. So that's telling you that, any sort of bounce may face a fair amount of congestion until that bounce sustains. Because if that bounce sustains, then all these guys will have to run for cover. Is there a case for a bounce? Well, we don't know yet. But if there is, this is the point. Why? Because the put-call ratio is at 0.7. Usually when it comes closer to 0.7 mark, we do see a bit of a bounce. Secondly, the Nifty 200-day moving average is as close to, yesterday's close, and we are very close to the recent low of 16,747 as well. Importantly, the Nifty has bounced back from the 200-day moving average twice in the last 15 days or so. So can we get third time lucky? The data to track then would be what happens globally. We have the India CPI today as well, but I don't think that'll be watched as much by Indians as the US CPI tomorrow, Fed minutes today, and the US Producers Price Index today as well. And if there is a bounce, who benefits? Not the FIIs, not the DIIs. It is the retail investors, HNI investors who benefit. Why? Because the FIIs are long just 15%, DIIs are long just 29%. The retail or the client positioning is at, like Prashant said, 1.5 lakh. At the highest, they are 69% long. So all the shorts of the institutions are actually being absorbed by the clients and retailers. If the market does bounce back from here, they stand to gain the most. If it doesn't, then they stand to lose the most.
Okay, it's interesting how the markers for our market have moved lower, right? First, it was the 17,000 level. Then it was the 200-day moving average. And now we're all watching out for the recent low, which is 16,740. Well, I just wanted to also point out that Morgan Stanley put out a very interesting note on that subject of how many more rate hikes and how much will it impact global markets. They said that persistent rent inflation should keep core CPI uncomfortably high, and this will leave the FOMC on track for a 75 basis points rate hike in November. Expect the core CPI to come in at 6.6% year-on-year for the US. So pretty elevated as far as the inflation numbers are concerned. And a 75 basis points rate hike is being priced in. by Morgan Stanley in the month of November. So we're not done yet, of course, with this rate tightening cycle. And you can see it across the board, not just in the US markets. But let's
just one more thing. IT services has been a big talking point, right? I mean, we got a big bounce. The index is still about 4% off the recent lows, just 4-5 days back. But yesterday, the Nifty IT index reversed. There is some more sobering news which has come in. So yesterday, I was reading the Wall Street Journal saying that PC shipments, personal computer shipments, have plunged to, plunged the most in a long time. They're down 20%. It's the steepest drop in more than 20 years. And this morning, Bloomberg is reporting that Intel is planning to, on the back of, lower PC shipments, planning to lay off thousands of employees. They'll report numbers next week. So this, constant stream of bad news, right? In terms of just we got the IMF forecasts yesterday, and that sort of shows us in pretty good light for 2023, although in 2022, the biggest downgrades are for India and the US. Our growth has been shaved off by them by about 0.6%. These are their forecasts. But 23, there's absolutely no change. This will keep coming. And I think a lot of people will be wondering what to do with IT services, because that still remains, to my mind, one large block, a large grouping of stocks which has taken the biggest damage and remains completely bombed out, notwithstanding the recent bounces we've seen. One will have to be very, very selective here and maybe kind of play trading bounces for what they are and not really go headlong at this point in time.
In that context, what stayed with me from TCS's commentary was they said that the macro environment we can't predict, right? There's no visibility. For our own company, what we're doing right now is focusing on cost efficiencies, cost cutting, and just managing the ship well, right? When large companies say that, it is indicative that there is a big slowdown and you're just trying to sort of hold forth.
And the slowdown is in the middle of the consumer pack, because like you said, where PC shipments are down, but what is actually up are the shipments for Apple. Apple's actually grown 40% when overall shipments are down by 15-odd%. And in Apple as well, when they said that the iPhones are not being sold, it is just the middle of the pack. It's the 14 Plus Pro, which is selling more than what they anticipated. So the rich guys buying lock, stock and barrel, the middle guys, there is a bit of a
Who are these guys buying the 14 Plus Pro?
We've got somebody sitting right in between.
No, I haven't bought a 14 Plus Pro. The last phone that I had was 11. But Sonia for sure, maybe.
We're all Apple lovers, guys. Let's not deny that, okay? All right, let's move on and kickstart the show. On the equities front, we have a comment first up coming in from Amish Shah of Bank of America Securities, who says, in the near term, higher crude and slowing global growth along with depreciating currency could create a downward spiral of macro risks. They see a 40 basis points upside risk to their FY23 budgeted fiscal deficit estimate of 6.4%, and they see the current account deficit at 3% of GDP versus 2.5% threshold, driven by uncomfortably high trade deficit. Thus, if crude and currency risks play out, they could deteriorate India's macros, and they see risks to the capex upcycle thesis. Given this, they believe further earnings cuts cannot be ruled out. They cut their Nifty trading range to 16,500 to 18,500, and they lowered the base target to 17,500.
Let's get you some money market news as well. We have Kunal Sudani of Shinhan Bank saying that US inflation expectations, upbeat comments from Fed policymakers, and rising bond yields have kept the dollar bulls hopeful ahead of Fed minutes. Fears of global economic slowdown will add further strength to the dollar index's demand. And cooling off Brent prices as well as other impact on demand may provide some respite to the rupee. For the USD INR, 82 acts as an important support, while 82.65 is a bit of a resistance.
Okay, let's get you some bond market views then. Neeraj Gambhir of Axis Bank says the market witnessed losses this week on a global bond rout and fears that the RBI may take some action to check the falling rupee. For the coming week, the market will take cues from inflation data, FOMC minutes and the quantum of SDL borrowing. For the week, the 10-year is expected to trade in a range of 7.35 to 7.50%. All right, let's kickstart the show. We have plenty of stock-specific action to track today. So without wasting any time, we'll get to it in our special Top 10 segment. Here are the stocks that we're looking at. Delta Corp, there's Genesis International, Suzlon, Gujarat Pipavav, L&T Finance, IndusInd Bank and Tilak Nagar Industries. These could be in the green, while Infosys, ONGC and Oil India are stocks that are likely to open in the red today.
Okay, we've got Dean Kim, head of Global Research Project at William O'Neill and Company, joining us now to take some questions. Dean, great to have you with us here back in the program. Thank you very much. How are things looking now for US equities first? The Nasdaq specifically, and then come to India. I mean, how are things looking for the Nifty, the benchmark? Go on.
Yeah, so the NASDAQ specifically, we put the market back down to downtrend today after the close as it undercut September lows. And, basically we're looking at another 6% lower in terms of next level support at around 9,800. And that's going to take us to, 40% off high. And so I think there's a lot of volatility in the market. Starting with last week, we've seen non-farm payroll coming in hotter than expected. That started the volatility. And then today, of course, we've got the news around the British gilt and the Bank of England trying to stabilize the pension market. And that's causing sort of a black swan type of event in Europe. And let's not forget that, there are pension funds all over the world. It's a very large market. And, what these pension funds were doing is they're using derivatives to squeeze out more gain. And, of course, we've seen the volatility in the bond market, and performance has been very poor. And they're faced with liquidity crunch. So I don't think this is over yet. So we are looking at potentially another leg down on the NASDAQ. And also we're looking forward to PPI numbers coming out tomorrow and CPI numbers on Thursday. And if they come in, higher than expected, the Fed is going to stay the course and continue to raise rates, which of course is going to put some more further pressure on the market as well. And so on the other side, we've seen oil markets going back, oil prices going back up, and the U.S. dollar is spiking again. So, definitely we're in a storm at the moment.
Okay, we're in a storm at the moment. Doesn't look good at all. Dean, you spoke about how the bond market mayhem in Europe could turn out to be a black swan event globally. What does this mean for risky assets like emerging market equities? Because India so far has been quite resilient. We've barely lost about 2% of our value this year. Do you think that outperformance or resilience can continue? Or is it, a situation where a big storm will take all boats with it?
Yeah, that's something we're looking at very closely. I mean, Indian market, has been very resilient, and it's going to test the 200-day moving average currently at around 57,000 on the Sensex. We see the next level support at 100-day moving average, which is about 1% away at 56,000. And support after that is around 55,000, only 4% away. So, but let's hope that, the market finds support at the 200-day moving average. That would be a very good sign. Outside of India, when you look at rest of Asia, they're already down 35% off highs. And when you're looking at AAXJ, index as well as EEM. So definitely India is the bright spot, continues to be. And but we pay attention to technicals. So we want to make sure that the market can find support at the 200-day moving average. And if not, it's not all bad. We have another level of support 1% away at the 100-day moving average.
Right, Deem. We're seeing some support, like you said, at the 200 and the 100-day moving average. What if, there was some black swan event, so to say, there was further downside that we saw in global markets, and the Nifty were to break that 100-day moving average as well? Then would all bets be off given the outperformance and the valuations of the Indian market?
Potentially. If we break the 100-day moving average, like I said, I think there's a fair amount of support at 55,000. It could be a short-term knee-jerk reaction, but when you're looking at fundamentals for India, it's quite strong. GDP growth still outpacing the rest of the world at around 6%. You have lower inflation relative to the rest of Asia, and as well as very strong middle class income coming up. So there's a lot of good things baked into fundamentals for the Indian market, and that's why we continue to love it. But definitely, if we do see global storm, of course we're going to see some knee-jerk reaction, but I would say those are buying opportunities for India.
Oh, that's an optimistic note that we're ending this conversation on. Dean, thanks a lot for joining in. So if there is a global storm, of course, is brewing, but if there's a further sell-off in India, then that definitely is a buying opportunity. That's the word coming in from our global expert. Let's do one thing. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll drill it down to the specifics. We have lots of numbers coming through today as well. HCL Tech and Wipro, more on that coming up. Stay tuned.
Excuse me, what will you do with your first salary?
So I would like to present my first paycheck to my father.
I'll buy a laptop for my younger brother.
I will save some money and with the rest I'll get an AC for my dad's room.
I'm going to start a life insurance policy. I think it's very important for my family's security.
The journey of success has many moments. Some reflect your taste, and some your class. But there is only one that shows you are a class apart. LG OLED, celebration of your success.
Happiness is getting home solid wood furniture this Diwali from insaraf.com, India's #1 solid wood furniture store.
दादा आप फ्लाइट कहाँ बुक करते हो?
इक्सिगो
ट्रेन,
इक्सिगो
बस,
इक्सिगो
साइकिल,
इक्सिगो
ज़्यादा बोल लिए,
बड़ो ज़्यादा बोल लिया।
और कौन सा ऐप डाउनलोड करना चाहिए?
इक्सिगो
और निकल लो।
Nickel Low Sale is now live. Get up to 30% off on flights. Use code NICKEL.
Get the grip of good health even after 50. Presenting now Star Health Premier Insurance Policy. Always at your doorstep.
A moment can start a movement. One ripple can start a wave. Avanti, forever mark. A diamond is forever.
मेरी कार का कितना मिल जाएगा?
यस सर, OLX ऑटोज ही देता है आपकी कार का बेस्ट प्राइस।
क्या बात कर रहे हो?
यही कि OLX ऑटोज ही देता है आपकी कार का बेस्ट प्राइस। ये प्राइस नहीं, सरप्राइज है।
क्या बात कर रहे हो?
Visit olxautos.in now.
जिंदगी को दें रफ्तार, शुरू करें इसी त्योहार, खुशियों का सफर बिताएं साथ मिलकर। त्योहार तभी हो जब अपने साथ हो। SBI के संग इस त्योहार छोटी किश्त से बड़ी खुशियां ले आए। SBI, the banker to every Indian.
Welcome back, folks, to Bazaar Morning Call. Hope you're having a good morning so far. The SGX Nifty is showing some green on the screen, but you know what? Our own markets have lost plenty of ground in the last many days. The 200-day moving average is gone, and the recent low of 16,747 will be watched very closely. Asian markets are not looking good as we speak. In fact, markets like Hong Kong are down over 1%. In fact, it's red across the board over there. But let's get straight down to talking about individual stocks. We talk about gambling. Delta Corp is the stock on our radar. Mangalam, why are you watching that?
Well, they reported their results, and so long as people are going to the casino, the house always wins. That's the rule, right? So record performance coming in for Delta Corp revenues. And this time I'm looking at it quarter on quarter because year on year, the base was so favorable that the revenues have actually grown 261%. But quarter on quarter, there's been a growth of 8% in revenues, 14% jump in EBITDA, and margins have improved. The net profit has actually grown by 19%. And why this is positive is that historically, the second quarter for Delta Corp has been weaker than the first quarter because the first quarter has a lot of holidays, etc. In the monsoons, people are visiting Goa because, you know, both casino is growing about 9% and online is growing about 13% as well. The company said surge in domestic travel led the growth to their business, and going forward, the launch of their new vessel will further aid growth. A couple of things we'll be watching out for. One, value unlocking in online gaming that they've been talking about earlier, and H2 is seasonally stronger for the company because we all know the Goa plans that are made in December, etc. And the only fly in the ointment is that the stock entered F&O ban yesterday and fell about 5%. So if it opens higher, could there be some short covering or not? Is something we'll watch out for.
The other big expectation is that all these tax-related issues will get resolved at some point in the clarity which needs to come through in terms of what is the amount, what to charge the taxation and what rate it should be, etc. Those are things which continue to dominate mind space. All right, Infosys and Infosys is in focus. There is a senior level exit which has happened without much clarification. And Rima is here to wrap that up for us. Rima, hi.
Thanks so much for that. So the president of Infosys, Ravi Kumar S, has resigned. He's resigned effective immediately. His last day was yesterday. So the street is a bit surprised because, as you pointed out, he is he is one of the most senior most people, probably second or third in terms of the power command. There was no clarification given. He said he's resigning for personal reasons, but no notice period for him. And the resignation comes just 2 days before Infosys board will be meeting when they consider their earnings. So the street is a bit, puzzled about this exit. And it's an important exit. The other one that we're tracking is Genesis International. It's a small company, about 2,000 crore in market capitalization, but they won a significant order from the government of Andhra Pradesh for land titling project. It's valued at about 46 crore. So it's a significant order for a company of its size. So I'll be watching out for Genesis International as well. Back to you.
Hey, Morgan Stanley, in fact, put out a note on Infosys where they say they still have an overweight call, though, but they say that the sudden departure of Ravi Kumar comes definitely as a negative surprise, but they don't expect any disruption in the business momentum for Infosys. We'll keep that in mind when we track the stock. But let's move on. Vivek is also joining in to tell us about some more stocks that are in the news this morning. Vivek, good morning.
Well, good morning. Couple of stocks on my radar. First is Suzlon Energy. Now, the company, after a while, has received an order, and this particular order is for close to 145 megawatt. And this particular order has come in from the Aditya Birla Group. That the project is expected to be completed in 2023 in Gujarat as well as Madhya Pradesh. The other stock on the radar, and expect some green as far as Gujarat Pipavav is concerned. The company has given an operational update for the quarter gone by, and it's a strong quarterly update. The container volumes have jumped up almost 18.5%. Optically, the dry bulk volume seems to have dropped. However, it's important to keep in mind that the dry bulk volume actually has come off a very strong base because last quarter, the company had a one-off positive impact as far as volumes were concerned due to some disruptions with the competitor. So Gujarat Pipavav definitely in focus, some strong operational updates coming in there.
All right, Vivek, thanks a lot for that. Abhishek joins in with a bunch of stocks that he's been tracking. Abhishek, what are the stocks in the news?
Well, Mangalam, to begin with, L&T Finance, they have given a press release wherein they say that they have received SEBI approval for, the merger of L&T mutual fund with HSBC mutual fund. We had a block deal on IndusInd Bank yesterday, about 1.6% equity exchange hands. Post the market hours, there was a release of bulk data which shows that Route 1 Offshore Master Fund has sold about 37% of their stake that they held in the bank. So they have sold 1.2 crore shares. Now they are left with little more than 2 crore shares. So their stake in the bank reduces to 2.86% from earlier stake of about 4.5%. Another block deal, Tilak Nagar Industries, wherein Bofa Securities has bought about 46.9 lakh shares. That is about 2.84% stake in the company. The seller was EARC Trust, which has sold about 50 lakh shares or a little more than 3% stake in the company. Back to you.
Okay, Abhishek, thanks a lot for that. So those are some stocks in focus, but crude has settled a tad bit lower on account of the COVID flare-up in China that's giving rise to demand concerns and, of course, recessionary fears as well. Manisha is joining in to give us a quick update on all that happened overnight. Manisha, good morning.
Morning, Sonia. Well, yes, a fourth straight day of crude price decline today, and this is in reaction to as IMF and World Bank have both downgraded the 2023 global growth forecast. IMF actually putting it as low as 2.7% as well. As you mentioned, it is about high inflation, tighter financial conditions, recession fears, all of that is weighing into the market. And then China, yet again, in bigger cities like Shanghai and Shenzhen, is ramping up COVID testing. Also, the U.S. inventories may show yet another week of a build-up, telling you that the demand is clearly slowing down. And on top of that, even as the OPEC and allies have cut production, but Saudi Arabia has told Asia that it will serve its full contract volume. So Asia clearly wouldn't be feeling a pinch of that. You will see supplies continuing to come in as well, and that is what has taken the premium of the prices right now. So after hitting almost $94 on the higher side, crude prices yet again have slipped below 90.
All right, Manisha, thanks a lot for that. With that, let's do a quick recap of all the top 10 stocks. Stocks with positive news flow. We have Delta Corp, Genesis International, Suzlon, Gujarat Pipavav, L&T Finance and IndusInd Bank along with Tilak Nagar Industries. While some stocks with negative news flows, Infosys, ONGC and Oil India. Let's take a short break then. On the other side, we get chatting with Deven Choksi of KR Choksi, joining in for some fundamental stock analysis. We also connect with Ramesh Kalyan of Kalyan Jewelers to talk about their strong Q2 business update.
Traxon Technologies Limited. Initial public offering of up to 38,672,208 equity shares of face value of 1 rupee each through the book building process with a price band of 75 rupees to 80 rupees per equity share. Bid offer opens on Monday, October 10, 2022 and closes on Wednesday, October 12, 2022. For risk factors and more details, please refer to the RHP available on the websites of SEBI, the book running lead manager and the stock exchanges.
बादल बिजली बरसात हो या धुंधली काली रात हो, हर बूंद पसीना कहता है देख कहां तक आए हम।
टाटा इंट्रा V50 सब कुछ उठाए, हर दिन जिताए।
Get the grip of good health even after 50. Presenting now Star Health Premier Insurance Policy, always at your doorstep.
Suzlon Energy Limited, one of India's top manufacturers in the wind component manufacturing segment and one of the top renewable energy O&M service providers in India. With a footprint across 17 countries on 6 continents, the Suzlon Energy Limited rights issue of 2,400,000,000 partly paid up equity shares of face value of ₹2 each for cash at a price of ₹5 per share. Opens on 11th October, closes on 20th October. For more details, refer to the letter of offer.
OLX ऑटोज ही देता है आपकी कार का बेस्ट प्राइस। सुना तुमने ये क्या बोल रहे हैं?
यही कि OLX ऑटोज देता है आपकी कार का बेस्ट प्राइस। ये प्राइस ही नहीं सरप्राइज है। विजिट olxautos.in।
ये नया टीवी।
Give me red।
मिहिर और मीना की शादी होती है, मिहिर के बच्चों के बच्चे होते हैं, दादाजी का पुनर्जन्म होता है।
बात अगर लंबे चलने की हो तो सिर्फ न्यू एवर रेडी अल्टिमा alkaline batteries with latest turbo lock technology that last up to 400% longer. New ever ready Ultima lasts up to 400% longer.
Different ages, different stages. Get best protection with Star Women Care Insurance Policy, always at your doorstep.
Welcome back. You're watching us here on Bazaar Morning Call. Let's get in Deven Choksi now of KR Choksi to give us a few, fundamental thoughts on the stocks that he's tracking. Deven, I wanted to know your thoughts on the cement pack and India Cements in particular, because there has been a lot of deal flow around this sector itself. Yesterday, the India Cements news that came by, the street was anticipating that maybe they will sell some part of their Banswara unit as well, and valuations are not supportive. What are your thoughts after an 11% correction that we've seen on India Cements?
Yeah, good morning, Mangalam. Overall, I think the cement mix looks promising from the point of view of, I think, demand that we are seeing in the country. With post-monsoon, I think with the activities gaining momentum, expected demand, I think, rise would be significantly higher, and particularly because of the government projects continuing. So in general, I think for all the cement companies, I think the demand scenario should remain needed to be more stronger. In some of the pockets in particular, I would think that I think the pricing along with, I think the demand would probably remain relatively higher, particularly in the Western belt, I think as we are seeing it. So all in all put together, I think the per se the industry outlook remains positive. particular companies like India Cement, even for that matter, I think the one which are there in southern pocket, Ramco Cement, and I think pan-India presence with Ultratech and Adani Group now, which is ACC Ambuja. All in all put together, I think that I think some of the select pockets, I think the companies would do well. Not too sure about immediately about I think the India Cement, but I see the corrective strategy happening as far as I think the business is concerned. Many of the weaker business areas I think are being corrected, and possibly I think the focus is on the efficiency, and that is where I think one could possibly bet on this particular company. The proposition remains quite strong as far as I think the efficiency-led growth is concerned for India Cement.
Okay. Deven, hi, good morning. How about Infosys? You must have heard about the president, Ravi Kumar, resigning, and this at a time when the company and the industry is going through many challenges, right? Would you keep the faith here, or do you think that Infosys could start to underperform the rest of the pack?
Yeah, good morning, Sonia. Well, I think the company is definitely showing a good amount of progress in last few quarters. The new order or the deal wins, I think, as we call it, as I think have been remaining extremely, I think, strong all these quarters. And I think the promise is that I think it is going to remain, I think, stronger going forward. The major challenge, as we understand, I think is going to be in execution. Given the kind of a challenge that one is facing as far as attrition is concerned, and given the kind of challenge that one is facing as far as uncertainty in the global environment is concerned, some part of the order execution might come under pressure. That is, I think, the fear that one is having. If we get the positive commentary from the management like we did from TCS, then in such case, I think the company looks, I think, relatively stronger. I would keep one ratio in forefront. How much is the deal win as far as I think this quarter is concerned, and what is the execution ratio, I think, on a quarter-over-quarter basis. If that number is remaining above 1, probably I think I would not be disappointed with any kind of, I think, the negative news, including leaving of some individual from the company. So I think one will have to keep an eye on this aspect. Of course, I think the profit margin is important, but I believe that I think given the kind of depreciated rupee and the dollar revenue that they clock in, I would think that I think the amount of cost pressures would be adequately met with the rupee depreciation, which will probably protect the margin between 20 and 23%. So let's see if they continue to maintain the guidance on 14-16% constant currency growth, and I think the margin of around 21-23% on EBITDA front, then I think the company should be reasonably all right, I think, as far as adding into the portfolio in every direction.
All right.
Okay, Deven, stay on. We'll just come back to you in a bit. Perhaps a stock that you may also track is Kalyan Jewelers, because a lot of these companies, Kalyan Jewelers, Titans, posted a very strong update for the second quarter. Weddings are back in a big way. Jewelry consumption is back. So let's find out more. The consolidated revenues rose 20% and the India revenues grew 14% year over year. The company also added 5 stores in India, but high competitive intensity has led to a lower gross margin. A quick comment from Ramesh Kalyanaraman, the Executive Director at Kalyan Jewelers, who joins us now. Mr. Kalyanaraman, you know, the Q2 update was very strong. Can you give us the outlook for the second half of the year?
So, as we speak, it is just the beginning of H2, and we are looking forward for a good Q3 initially. Q3, as you know, the base has been very high because last Q3 has been good, and as we speak, we see the footfalls increasing for the festive. The pre-book for Dhanteras has been strong, so we really look forward for a good Q3, and from the brand side, we have done everything possible. The campaigns have started, the team is geared up, and we really expect the Q3 to be good.
All right, Q3 could be good, but you know, if we slice and dice your numbers, your India business grew just around 14%, whereas players like Titan actually saw a stronger growth of 18% on a higher base as well. Can you explain what explains that?
Yeah, so India has been good because we also grew by 14-15% in Q2. You saw that in the update, and it is not easy to compare between brands because it depends upon the geographical split of the brand and how it performed in the last year. Was there a pent-up demand more in Q2 of last year, etc.? So it's not a very easy apple-to-apple comparison, but as a brand, we are extremely happy about the outcome of Q2. and Middle East also has performed well, and we really look forward for a good Q3 as well.
Ramesh, you said, actually highlighted heightened levels of competitive intensity, which led to lower gross margins. Where did you see this competition coming from, and what does this mean for margins going ahead?
So competition, yes, it has been there, but now we see good competition from even the organized players in each market, and the competition is becoming more intense day by day. And we, as a brand, we have taken a lot of measures to maintain our margins by increasing our studded ratio, by improving margins in the products which is not easily available in a particular market, etc. But yes, competition intensity is there in the industry, but it has to be there always, and because competition has been a part in this industry over the past many years.
So what is the target market share that you're looking at in, say, organized jewelry, and by when do you expect to see it in double digits?
Now, again, market share, it depends upon, the availability of the number itself is tough because there is a strong unorganized segment which is playing a vital role in our industry. So what we can tell you is that we as a brand in the market where we are, we try to become the top 3 players, one of the top 3 players in the micro markets where we are.
All right, in the markets where you are, that's largely South. So what's your outlook on growth coming in from non-South regions? Because South India had nearly 2/3 of your revenue. What's your target by the end of this year and in the near future?
So our target for the next couple of years, we should make the revenue share between South and non-South in the range of 50-50. That's our target. That's the plan of our Vision 2025. But within 1 year or the next 18 months, the number of stores at least will be in the range of 50-50. That is our target. And the expansion plan is also majorly into the non-South markets because there are vacant markets where we can go and open the stores. South, we are there in almost all the Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 cities. But yes, there are markets in the South as well where we can expand. But our primary focus for the next 2 to 3 years will be to expand in the non-South region.
Okay, Mr. Kalyan Raman, thanks a lot for joining in. So that's a very strong update coming through from the management of Kalyan Jewelers, and they're saying the Dhanteras sales have been pretty good. The pre-Dhanteras sales have been pretty good. I'm sure Diwali will be blockbuster for these guys purely because of how the wedding season is shaping up. And all in all, I mean, it's reflecting in the stock price as well.
Although, this is completely, I think, I've not seen the performance, but I don't think it's very good, right, since listing the Kalyan jeweler stock.
In the last 3 months, it's up 50%, but since
so it's made up,
listing, I'm not too sure, Let's, in fact, pose that question to Deven. Deven, any thoughts? Titan, Kalyan Jewelers. Mangalam had done a very interesting piece about the valuation gap that still exists between the two players, and we all know about it. But where does the risk-reward look more favourable now?
So, Sonia, I think the understanding is very clear that out here, these companies are trying to register their presence pan-India. And probably, I think that is the investment phase, as I call it as. Coming out from Southern Belt and I think expanding into the other areas of the country, probably initial years, I think they would be struggling with higher amount of, I think, cost, etc., which would get reflected into margins and which we continuously observe in the quarter result of this company as well. But going forward, I think if the presence is getting created pan-India with a very strong endorsement that they have, I guess I could think that I think they would have reasonably good chance from here onwards to I think registered themselves as first 3 brands, I think, as they're talking about. If that does happen, then possibly I think the valuation gap that you're talking about, I think, could get breached. But however, as I always believe that I think these are the companies where I think the seasonality factor plays a big role. I think if you are buying on Dhanteras, then probably I think you end up selling, I think, on Dhuleti. So I think in this 6 months' time, I think you end up, I think, playing around in this kind of a stock. Long-term prospects, I think, remain strong about demand point of view, but I think the margins, I think one will have to progress, I think, as the quarter goes by. I think wanted to see how exactly the margin progresses.
Right.
So at this point of time, I think our focus stays more on the other areas of consumption vis-a-vis jewelry. So I think we would probably concentrate there as well.
You take that point, Devin, and just to talk about how Kalyan Jewelers has performed. Their IPO was 87 odd rupees, and now the stock is at 97 after having rallied 53% in the last 3 months. So it has been an underperformer. Is catching up, and as far as valuations with Titan is concerned, it's trading at nearly 1/4 the multiple of Titan itself.
I was also surprised. I remember speaking to them the last time. They said that 50. I always thought of them as a Kerala-based player, but I remember them saying 50% of the sales are outside of. It's from north.
No, 35% is from non-south, 65% is still from south, and they're saying that they're looking to increase
to 50%.
To 50%, at least in the next 12 to 18 months in terms of stores. And non-south is good for them because more diamond jewelry is bought in the non-south regions, whereas south it's just gold. So that should do better for them going forward for their margins. But Devin, you said you like other parts of the consumption space as against jewelry. What would your top picks be there right now?
Well, I think immediately the holding is basically more focused with, I think, the companies like Asian Paint, Pidilite. I think where we believe that I think the other areas of, I think, your wallet, I think, is basically you're spending on that particular front. So that is where I think we remain more focused, because I think the consistency of growth is on a higher side. In some part of, I think, the consumption space, I think where the food category comes in, the likes of Patanjali, likes of Adani Wilmar, I think that also, I think we have basically stake in those companies in our investment portfolios. So yes, I think vis-a-vis, I think the fashion part of the activity, I think we are basically going with more the regular consumption habits, I think, which all of us have, where basically I think higher amount of money is being spent. So I think these are the areas where probably we invested in the portfolios.
All right, Devin, what we'll do is we'll take a quick break here and we'll come back for more. Let's just look at the SGX and what that is indicating as a starting level. It was, I think, higher by about 60 points, 72 points higher. That's about 0.4% above the 17,000 mark. We'll also have technical trading ideas for you coming up. Midesh and Sudarshan will be with us as always for that in just a bit. Stay with us.
Traxon Technologies Limited. Initial public offering of up to 38,672,208 equity shares of face value of 1 rupee each through the book building process with a price band of 75 rupees to 80 rupees per equity share. Bid offer opens on Monday, October 10, 2022 and closes on Wednesday, October 12, 2022. For risk factors and more details, please refer to the RHP available on the websites of SEBI, the book running lead manager and the stock exchanges.
दादा आप फ्लाइट कहाँ बुक करते हो?
इक्सिगो,
ट्रेन,
इक्सिगो,
बस,
इक्सिगो,
साइकिल,
इक्सिगो,
ज़्यादा बोल लिए,
बड़ो ज़्यादा बोल लिया।
और कौन सा ऐप डाउनलोड करना चाहिए?
इक्सिगो।
और निकल लो।
Nickel Low Sale is now live. Get up to 30% off on flights. Use code NICKEL.
My journey of insurance and investments began at the same time when I invested in LIC SEEP. In this fast-moving world, SEEP can balance your funds with security and growth. SEEP will take care of the ups and downs of the market and will give you fruitful results so that you enjoy the ride. And when SEEP is with you, you can soar high.
LIC's unit-linked insurance plan SEEP offers savings and protection so that you can soar high in your life. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
Magnificent picture, magnificent sound, magnificent experience, Magnifique. High-performance TVs by Aiwa Japan, now in India.
This festival, bring in Nissan Magnite. Big on dreams. Bold in passion. Beautiful in every drive. Rush to the nearest Nissan dealership now.
Your health is our concern. Choose network or appropriate hospital. Our telemedicine and customer care team are available to guide you. Star Health Insurance, always at your doorstep.
OLX Autos ही देता है आपकी कार का बेस्ट प्राइस।
क्या बात कर रहे हो? यही कि OLX Autos ही देता है आपकी कार का बेस्ट प्राइस। ये प्राइस नहीं, सरप्राइज है। Visit olxautos.in.
चेक।
जाना पड़ेगा।
अरे गेम छोड़ के
1 महीना हो गया कंप्लेंट किए हुए, बैंक रिफंड ही नहीं कर रहा है। कंप्लेंट करनी है।
अरे बैठिए बैठिए यहीं से कर लीजिए RBI के ऑम्बुड्समैन को।
कैसे?
RBI अधिकृत बैंक, NBFC या डिजिटल लेन देन के जितने भी प्लेटफॉर्म्स हैं उनकी शिकायत आप कर सकते हैं घर बैठे बैठे। RBI के CMS पोर्टल पर। ये हो गया चेकमेट। कंप्लेंट करेंगे क्या? RBI कहता है
जानकार बनिए, सतर्क रहिए।
Okay, welcome back. There's 11 minutes to go for the pre-open session to kick off. Sudarshan Sukhani and Mitesh Thakkar are with us to set up, the trading setup for you. Gentlemen, good to have both of you with us here. Thank you very much. Sudarshan, to you first. What's the trade? If we do get this 60, 70 odd point move higher right at the word go, what would you advise viewers to do?
Good morning. See, on Monday we bought a dip and that worked. And yesterday it did not. Now the markets are clearly, there are two messages. First, 17,100 on the Nifty has broken rather decisively. And the second, the market is not having any clarity of direction. So today I think while the market is expected to open up and I hope it goes up, I don't have a trade. It's better to step aside for the day for the Nifty and for the Bank Nifty both and let the market decide a short-term trend for itself. So today for me is a no trading day.
Okay, today is a no trading day. That I think would be some sane advice considering there's been so much choppiness in the market over the last few days. Mitesh Thakkar is also with us. Mitesh, good morning. Since the 200-day moving average has now given way, do you reckon that we could be headed for a much deeper downside in the market? And if yes, what are the levels to watch?
Good morning, Sonia. So I think we got an average closing of 69.83 yesterday, just at the 200-day average, and today we'll open up. I think the structure is weak. So my belief is that we will eventually break below the 200-day average and head towards 16,750, 800 zones to begin with, and maybe even lower. Having said that, I think, yesterday we didn't get a proper closing below that. So yesterday's low kind of becomes the pivot. I think now I'll sell in the futures market once we break 16,950. But given the fact that my belief is that the market will eventually do that and will trade, will break down and there's a higher chance of decline happening, I will possibly use this bounce back of 60, 70, 80 points, whatever it happens, to buy into some put spreads for the month of November. So we'll, possibly, buy 17,000 puts and maybe, sell 16,500 or 600 puts, depending upon how the price is open. Having said that, I think, shorting in futures, I would advise only once you break 69.50, then I think you can take a 60, 70 point kind of a stop and play for a minimum dip of 200 points, maybe even more.
Point. Mitesh, individual stocks, what would your strategy be today? Would there be more shorts or longs?
That's for me?
Yeah, that's for you.
Good morning, Mangalam. I have more of sell calls, very clearly in line with my market outlook. Havells is a sell with a stop at 1,300 for targets of 1,240. Canfin Home Finance appears to have given a bounce back, now is getting into declining mode again. So sell with a stop at 490 for targets of 460. And Tata Consumer is a sell as well. Keep a stop at 755, look for targets of 720. The solitary buy call is Persistent Systems. Keep a stop at 3510, look for targets of 3600.
All right, and Sudarshan, how about you? What would your stock ideas be both on the buy as well as the sell side today?
Well, it's also mainly on the sell side, but I'm not as bearish as let's say, Mitesh or anyone else, because November onwards, the market has a seasonal tendency to go up. So I'm just looking at selling today, that's all. Bata India is my only buying idea. Bata India has been making some kind of a base, buy with a stop under 1770. Grasim is an intraday short. Actually, there are multiple intraday shorts available. Stop loss 1682. Indigo has been in a bear market even when the market was going up. Intraday short with a stop above 1800. And finally, Petronet making new lows. Intraday short with a stop above 203. Remember, they are just for today.
All right, Bata has been showing some strength, one of the few stocks which ended in the green in yesterday's trading session as well. Chandan Taparia also joins us for FNO calls. Now, Chandan, that 15% long positions, what would your thoughts be on the index and individual stocks?
Good morning, Mangalam. The Nifty index has been making lower highs, lower lows from last 3-4 trading session, and every bounce is being sold. We have noticed that put-call ratio is continuously falling down, and now the PCR is 0.76, which clearly indicates that more call writers are there and they are having the grip on the market due to the global weakness. FI's long-short ratio is also near to the multiple lows of 15%, which clearly indicates that they are continuously selling into the Indian equity and derivatives segment. So there is a concern, and that's why market is not ready to hold at higher levels. So I think till FI's long-short ratio doesn't recover about 25-30%, it would be tough ride for the bulls in the market. At the same time, your India VIX is also moving back to 20, not falling below 18. And CBOE VIX is near to 33-34 zone. So higher volatility at the US and Indian market, falling put-call ratio, and lower FI's long-short ratio are indication that market is finding tough ride at higher levels. So because of that, either we have to be very selective, we have to trade less, we have to hedge the long position in the market. So looking at the entire scenario, we have multiple barrier in Nifty near to 17,167, 17,250. Till that level is not surpassed, bounce could be sold for the downside move to us 16,888 and 16,750, which is the recent low. But comparatively, some banking stocks are doing well. So Bank Nifty has to surpass 38,888. If that happens, then some recovery could be there. So comparatively, negative bias, but some recovery may be there in the Bank Nifty, but bounce could be sold in the Nifty index. Now, what to do in such scenario? So better to be with long short ratio in your individual future trade, be with selective call writing, find out selective negative idea. So looking at the same, we are recommending to sell on Tata Steel. Metal stocks are falling down, making lower top, lower bottom. Recently it moved up, but failed to surpass its 50-day exponential moving average. Call writing is visible. So recommending to sell on Tata Steel with a stop loss of 106, and a stock can correct by 3 to 5% towards 97 level. Second trading idea on the sell side is the Bpcl. This stock is falling down, making lower top, lower bottom. Most of the oil marketing companies are under pressure. Shorts are there. Even the negative and short rollover has happened from the previous series to current series. So recommending to sell with a stop loss of around 316 and expecting it to correct to us 285. One buy idea, that is buy on Axis Bank. One of the outperformance, making higher tops, higher bottom. Some put writing is visible. So can buy Axis Bank with a stop loss of 760. And here we have potential upside move to us 810 levels.
All right, Chandan, it's always great getting that set up and trades from you. Appreciate you joining in with that. We'll take a short break here. We'll come back with the pre-open rates. In a bit from now, we'll also connect with Sajid Malik of Genesis International Corp to discuss the recent order win. Stay tuned, all of that coming up.